Hello and welcome to the Full Force News Burst, brought to you by GeneralsJoes.com, with me as your host, Chris Shower Danger McLeod, aka Diagnostic 80. Joining me on today's burst to discuss Hasbro's recent acquisition of Saban'S Power Rangers IP and many other brands is Adam Power Stranger Riches. So without further ado, let's get stuck into this news burst. Late last year, we reported that Hasbro had managed to get the rights to produce Power Rangers toys, a position previously held by Bandai. Well, earlier today, it was announced by Hasbro in a press release that they had purchased the entire Power Rangers intellectual property from Saban, which means that Hasbro now outright own the entire brand. We will talk about some of the other brands they acquired in a moment, but let's discuss this element first. Adam, were you surprised to hear of this news today, and what do you think it means for the brand as a whole?
I was definitely surprised to hear the news. I think more than anything, it's just Power Rangers has such a strange history now, originally coming from Japan as Super Sentai, being Americanized by Saban, later sold to Disney, then sold back to Saban, and now Hasbro. Like, it's just such a bizarre web when you think that
Hot Potato Rangers.
Yeah, well, it's not a floundering property. It's not like it's on its last legs or anything. This is something that's stayed extremely relevant. So to see it bounce around like that is odd, because usually if something's doing good, naturally you'd want to keep it.
Yeah. Do you think Saban are looking at the? Because I mean, there's a lot of money there. We'll kind of discuss that as well in the second part. But I mean, we're talking about 522 million combined for the Power Rangers and the other brands, which we'll discuss later. But I mean, were they looking at the money and thinking, well, that's $500 million, we might as well take that and party, rather than going through the rigmarole of all the effort and the work that goes into making the toy, dealing with the all the things that come with it, like the kind of short-term spikes in revenue, I suppose.
So Haim Saban sold his portion of Fox Family Channel, which included Power Rangers, to Disney in 2001 for a deal worth $5.2 billion, and I guess his portion of that deal just came out to be about $1.5 billion.
Wow.
So it's interesting that in some ways, actually, he's letting it go for less than he originally got for selling it to Disney 17 years ago, which is odd because I don't think it set the world on fire or anything, but I mean, the recent Power Rangers movie was honestly much better than it had any right to be, and seemed to be pretty well received.
I don't think it made as much money as, say, G.I. Joe Retaliation, though, did it?
That I'm not sure of. For me, the biggest faux pas of the Power Rangers movie was that they went back and tried to reimagine Mighty Morphin as opposed to just moving forward with it, but I digress.
In terms of Hasbro, what do you think it means for them? Do you think they can make something even more of Power Rangers? Do you think it will be do you think they'll focus a lot of energy and effort into it? I mean, they must. I mean, they've spent $500 million on it. You think they're gonna want to put a lot of effort towards it? I mean, even in the Hasbro press release, Brian Goldner even stated, Power Rangers is an iconic brand built on a heritage of great storytelling and merchandising with tremendous upside potential when fully executed across Hasbro's brand blueprint. I didn't mean to say bland, I apologise. He also said, shortly after entering into our licensing agreement, it became clear that now was the time to begin investing in unlocking Power Rangers' full potential. We see significant opportunity for Power Rangers across our entire brand blueprint, I got it right this time, including toys and games, consumer products, digital gaming and entertainment, as well as geographically throughout our global retail footprint. We couldn't be more pleased that Haim Saban will continue in a consulting role to further guide our development of this valuable property for the next generation of Power Rangers fans. That's an interesting element as well.
I mean, I kind of equate this to Nickelodeon's purchase of the Ninja Turtles, and how you've got a brand that's sort of evergreen that wasn't, maybe it wasn't at its hottest period at the time they bought it, but certainly was far from dead.
Yeah.
And I kind of think this is the same thing. I don't really know that there's, when they say unlock full potential, considering that this has been owned by Disney even, and it's had a major movie within the last couple of years, I don't know how much of this potential there really is to unlock. I just think it's unless they're going to create the Megazord, but But I mean, I definitely think it's a valuable brand, and I think that it's multi-generational. And one of the things that's really unique about Power Rangers as a brand is that it never seems to lose its core intended audience of, say, 5 to 10-year-olds. But that audience also tends to stay with it. So it really spreads it spans a wide gap, where some of the other brands seem much more of a microcosm, I guess, as far as the fandom, whereas Power Rangers just continues to grow every year. Yeah,
it's funny that, isn't it? It seems to be like the Power Rangers hits that age group no matter what generation. Turtles does the same thing, I think. And then there are a couple of brands that do that you have mentioned already. G.I. Joe struggles in that it only really works in a certain era. You know what I mean? Like for what it is, it always needs to adapt and change so much that it doesn't really resemble itself anymore to be successful. I think we can agree that is the case. Like otherwise, it would still be around in doing what it's doing. But you know, this kind of like Power Rangers, I haven't really seen any difference in other than like the designs of the costumes, which change again, like, you know, not dramatically, but there are differences in the different iterations of Power Rangers. The toy line pretty much stays almost identical throughout its entire existence. It's been one of the most popular over a long period of time. It's been like a mainstay in the toy aisles for ages. So I agree with you. The full potential unlocking, has it not already been unlocked? Or would Hasbro just be kind of like continue? Is this just like, you know, management speak in this sense? Do you think?
Well, I think that the biggest potential unlock, if we want to call it that, is that it's helping to broaden Hasbro's portfolio, and I think that's where the real value is. I mean, this is very similar to Hasbro's growth strategy in the late '80s when Alan Hassenfeld started acquiring, Tonka and Play-Doh and Kenner, et cetera, et cetera. And it's a valuable brand. I've even had discussions with people from Hasbro who have actually used the phrase "Hasbro's not a toy company; it's an entertainment company." And I think that this fits very much in line with that business philosophy. That this is a brand that obviously has toys, but you know, it's equally as strong right now in television and movies and comics and video games. And I think that for that reason, it's very valuable to them.
Do you think we're going to be seeing even more than this in the future, in like the coming years? Do you think we're going to be seeing Hasbro acquiring so many more licenses that they just kind of take over the entire arena?
Hasbro's a very hard company to predict because, obviously there's been rumors for 30 years about a sale to Disney or a merger with Mattel or whatever. And throughout all of that, though, Hasbro's continued to grow on its own, acquiring a lot of IPs and making a lot of great licensing deals. And so I think Hasbro's just becoming so strong that eventually, if they really wanted to, HasCon in some ways is almost turning into like a mini San Diego. And all of these brands that they're acquiring, like, I know obviously it's been discussed for a million years about a Hasbro cinematic universe. Well, like, that doesn't seem that far-fetched. I mean, as a kid, naturally everyone drew comparisons to Transformers and the Power Rangers Zords, and like now that could be a reality. So it's a pretty fascinating thing to think about. There really is, from that standpoint, there's a lot of potential that could be unlocked just from merging properties.
It's very, very interesting. Let's have a look at the other brands that they acquired as well. So let's move on to the next stage of this news burst. Hasbro also announced that the companies have signed a definitive agreement for Hasbro to purchase other entertainment brands from Saban, including My Pet Monster, Popples, Julius Jr., Luna, Petunia, Treehouse Detectives, and others, including Power Rangers, in a combination of cash and stock valued at $522 million. And I've put my little pinky to my mouth as I said that. Now, a few responses have questioned the move, saying that there are brands not getting the best treatment currently, including G.I. Joe, and that Hasbro should be focusing on those before making this kind of deal. But what do you think, Adam? Is this a good move by Hasbro here? Can you see any of these brands hitting the kind of heights that Hasbro expects?
Well, this is completely personal opinion, but when I look at the brands that you just listed, even though I'm familiar with some of them, I think obviously the A-lister in that group is Power Rangers. I mean, that was the real, acquisition here.
So 521 million went towards
more like 521.99.
I mean, for me, like My Pet Monster, I remember that, like, clearly. I mean, that's quite an iconic plush toy with the kind of plastic shackles that you could, fake break open and all that kind of stuff. They're cute little things, and on the vintage ones do, quite difficult to get hold of, or at least the UK and European variant ones difficult to get hold of. Now, for the rest of them though, I vaguely remember the rest. Like Treehouse Detectives, I vaguely kind of know what that is. Popples, vague. Julius Jr., the same. Luna, Petunia, not a clue. Do you think these are brands that Hasbro can unlock potential out of?
I had a Popples when I was like probably 3 years old. So I mean, I know what that is. And My Pet Monster, similar situation. With the American release to what you said, obviously one's in really good condition, complete, still fetch a pretty good price in the secondary market. But I don't think that they're still niche brands at the end of the day. So like if you had a My Pet Monster Kickstarter, say, like it would get funded, but it wouldn't make millions. You know what I mean? I think in those terms, and those are the numbers you need to be thinking of if you're thinking, global massive toy company like Hasbro is. So I think those are all just sort of, nice little extra assets to have that one day we can, see as live characters at the Hasbro World theme park. But, let's be real here. This whole sale is about Power Rangers.
What annoys me, and I will be having words with Daryl DePriest here, is that by adding more brands to the Hasbro portfolio, it means we've got to do more episodes of the fake combined universe. So I'm adding My Pet Monster, Popples, Power Rangers. I'm adding all of those to the list of episodes we have to do. Could you imagine that as a combined universe? That would be hilarious.
Oh, I'd love it.
Could you see them adding Power Rangers to their cinematic universe in the way that they want to add ROM, Mask, Visionaries, etc.? Am I getting ahead of myself? Am I worrying anybody right now with this talk?
I think that's a pretty natural fit. And honestly, I think the other thing is people need to remember that some of these need to be used as a gateway drug. I mean, things like ROM and Micronauts obviously aren't anywhere near the level of fandom that Transformers or Power Rangers is. So if they fit, or Mask or whatever. So if these things can somehow naturally coexist within the same universe and be used as a way to introduce you to those brands, that's a good thing. I mean, Power Rangers has a massive following.
Yeah.
So if you can use that and leverage that to introduce a whole new audience to these other things, that's nothing but a win to me. And I know I've obviously read online already the concerns today of the G.I. Joe fandom that G.I. Joe is going to get pushed further down the line or something. But Hasbro's a smart company. There's a reason they've been around as long as they have. There's a reason they have $522 million to buy things like this. I really wouldn't worry about that so much. I think that things go into lulls and things have peaks and valleys, but they are fully aware of the value that G.I. Joe carries as a brand, and I think that they will find the right time to put that in. It will happen.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just the natural state of things now is to worry immediately about these kind of end points and to think that there's no way back or there's no way it's going to come back again. But we've been through these things with G.I. Joe before. We've had, was it 94 onwards to at 97 and then nothing, so, and then we had loads of stuff flooding in, and then again, nothing for it, a little break. And we've had these things happen before. We've had years of a break. So, I mean, there aren't, even the Turtles has had years between iterations. So, I think it's just one of those things. Sometimes it just needs to breathe for a while. Sometimes it needs to be put to bed so that it can be reinvigorated a later time, a later date. The 25th anniversary showed that, having that little bit of a break to then reinvigorate the brand with a completely different outlook on how they did things, and look how massively popular that became. So I think we'll have the moment when it comes back again. We definitely will. We have to, otherwise the Full Force becomes pointless. It doesn't, because thankfully we've attached ourselves to Power Rangers now. So crazy things happening today. Adam, thanks for joining me to chat through that quickly.
No doubt.
No doubt. Overall, how many potatoes would you give this this acquisition by Hasbro?
5 plus a 6th green potato to show up later in the season.
No, that is genius. So one of the potatoes is obviously an off one. It's gross and green, but it's a green power potato. So we'll be discussing Potato Rangers with Brian and Paddy next News Burst. I kid. That's it for this instalment of the Full Force News Burst. Thank you to my wonderful co-host Adam Riches. See you next time, and as always, go power Full Force! Make sure you get involved with the discussion by liking, sharing and commenting on these videos, and as always you can keep up with the show after listening by following on Twitter @TheFullForce, liking the Facebook page facebook.com/TheFullForce, and if you would like to contact the show you can message us on either of these platforms with feedback, questions, or to say, who do you think you are? A serious operation now? No, not even close. Look out for more of these news bursts that we are posting on the Facebook page from now on. Full Force.